want to tell you this derivation I have not explained you, and I'll be trying to explain a simple derivation today. Then I'll go back to the analysis of randomized min cut, of course, in the next class. Uh, so this particular algorithm, we are beginning with the primality testing algorithm. So when we try to generate prime numbers, there is no such algorithm that we can generate a prime number rather than we test a number whether to be prime or not, right? So if you are generating, the concept is like this, which is depicted in the slide. And if you try to start with a number n, you are testing whether it is a prime or not. So the answer will be true or false. When we are moving into a randomized or a probabilistic algorithm where a number is given, and even if it is a prime, your algorithm may say it's a false, but it is not going to tell it again and again. If you try with a number 10 times, let it be a prime number. You test how many times your algorithm is uh, indicating that this is not a prime number, or it's a composite number, or you are landing into the case is the false. So that means if you do it for 10 or 20 times, in that way you can find out whether that algorithm is going to behave as per your expectation. That means the majority of the time it should say the number is a prime. This is all about. So we are not going to give guarantee that it which a prime number will be reported as a prime number always. Okay, so there will be a probability, there is a probability that the information or the outcome of the algorithm is subjected to a error, or you can say the reporting is that this is a composite number. So we'll start with these preambles, the primality testing algorithm and its importance. You know, the whole security system is resides on the top of a prime number. If you take the help of different programming language, they have a module, or maybe in popularly if you'll go to the Java, we have the sandbox model, and if you go to C++ and others, we have different random generators are available. So any security system we try to design is based on the prime number, and if we can produce a prime number in polynomial time, if we, again I repeat the statement, if we able to produce a prime number in polynomial time, then we can crack all the security systems of the world, because one cannot produce a prime number in polynomial time. That's why those systems are secure. That means one has to try million number of times to generate a prime number that exactly cracks the security system, which may be using that prime number as a key. So there are two challenges. One is the number of bits or the width of the prime number is large, then it is much harder to produce or check or regenerate so that you can track the system. So if you will be asked to generate a 256-bit prime number, what will be your approach? Let us discuss the generation through your available computer and the compiler. Any of you can generate a 120-bit prime number? Can anybody respond? Any of you can generate a 128-bit prime number? Or let us say 64-bit? How you are going to do that? 64-bit prime number.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, first we will take the biggest 64-bit
No.
number.
No. If you no, I am not asking you the logic. I am asking you which compiler you will select. Which compiler you will select. You tell your assumption about the machine and which compiler you will select. Okay, I'll clarify on machine. You tell me which compiler, which language you will be preferring, C, C++, Java, which
Java.
language? Java. What is the Largest integer or the size of the integer you can manage?
Sir, if we take an integer in the form of double, then 64 bits.
Yes. Okay. So you can go for either for Java or you can go for C++. Okay.
Sir, we can take long double also of 10 bytes.
Long double 10 bytes. What is that exactly? What
In
you will
C.
do? What you will do for 128 bit? This is the drawback of the computer science people. We should not practice the program just multiplying a matrix or taking a very small number like other people usually practice a programming. If you want to really want to multiply the matrix, multiply a large matrix. If you really try to solve a differential equation, then you solve the equation uh, which is large number of variables. So there will be limitation. At least you will be in a position to know which compiler is to be used. Okay, so if you know that, now come to how to do it for 128 bit or 256 bit. If we'll design something with 64, nobody is going to accept you that you can make a system secure. I'm talking of a prime number. Largest prime you can produce, more money you will earn. Because it is very difficult to crack if you design a prime. I mean, if you produced a large prime. So what is your idea if you try to do it with 128 bit prime number? Simple, let us come to how you are going to manage 128 bit. Yes, please. Which data structure you will use? When I assume about the machine, I'll assume, let us say I have a 64-bit machine. Understood? 64-bit machine. Okay, 64-bit operating system. And again, I assume that I have a 64-bit compiler. Now answer. I want 128-bit prime number or a integer representation. Yes, anybody can suggest any idea? So Sri, any idea how you are going to do it? Hello.
Yes,
How you will represent? Any idea? Just to tell me any idea. You have 64-bit representation. Now you have to manage with 128-bit number. What will be the idea?
Sir?
So we can
Yes,
use an array.
you can use the array. I mean, you are going to use
Array to store the digits.
digits you will be storing, huh? But how you will do the
Yes.
operation? How you will do the
Sir,
operation?
mod of 10 will give the last digit and divide by 10 will give the left half. That
No,
way we have to proceed.
your array has got 64 bit. Okay, so you will be using a array with two element, huh? 64 plus
Yes.
64, it's like that. But who will
Yes.
define the operation? Because when I say integer, the operations that can be takes place on the integer are built into the, or this is coming from your primitive data structure or data type. Now you are planning for a 128 bit integer, right? What are the operations you are expecting? What is the operation you are expecting? Similar to the
Add
64
and
bit integer?
multiply.
Add,
Same.
multiply. So why
Yes.
not you are suggesting that I'll create a data structure?
Hmm.
But why you are not going to propose a data structure? Right here, actually the data structure need comes. Understood? You have a you don't have a data structure or inbuilt data type to support 128 bit. Now you try to create a new data structure that is the uh, for the 24, I mean for 128 bit. So how you will implement? So now it is depends on your skill. If you are good in C, you can take the help of a structure to do that. If you are good for, you can go for a header file. You can go for a C++, a template. If you are going for the You can create a new class and you can decide what are the functions, as you say, addition, subtraction will be there, or whatever the operations required on top of an integer. And we can now create 260. Suppose I am looking into RSA algorithm and I want to do certain manipulation during uh, checking of the prime, so I'll take the help of that. Okay, so this is the way need of new data structure comes. One way you can answer, if you need a large prime number, you have to create a data structure that supports 128 bit or 360 256 bit representation, or even more, I mean even larger than that. Okay, so there is a need to check a number to be prime, because we are talking of primality testing. We can generate a large number. That's why I asked how you are going to store 128 bit number. Now 128 bit number is stored and you want to check whether it is prime or not. If I'm looking into the algorithm, if suppose there are some operation, then what I'll try to do, I'll design a new data structure so that it will support a large prime number testing. Okay, suppose if you roughly look into the algorithm, I need a mod operation, so I'll define it. If I need a addition, I'll define that. If I need a multiplication, I'll define that. So you can suggest a data structure or a abstract data type that will help a programmer to test a 128 bit number or a 256 bit number prime or not. Okay, so this is when you come to the implementation. So there is a history of primality testing algorithm in that is the algorithm produced by the different scientists, how to test or how to produce the large prime, or how to, rather than how to test the large prime. Some of the algorithms are deterministic algorithm, but we'll find that the deterministic algorithm takes more time when we try to deal with large number of bits. So the idea is that then we move to a randomized algorithm. So this is a typical algorithm we always follow. We start with n, then the complexity is root n, and when we learn the programming language, we learn I can test from step number 1 to n by 2, but because we are looking for the factors, so we can go for step number 1 to root n. This is a typical algorithm that tests whether we have a factor, because that's why the complexity, sometimes people used to write order of n, but it is actually order of root n, because my checking starts from the first element to root n, because I'm looking for the factor. Otherwise, if one or number itself, we can call it as a prime. Okay, so with this assumption, we'll move to a faster algorithm, but the faster algorithm is again subjected to error because it's a randomized algorithm. Related to this chapter, I think I have posted one article, prime number in P. Okay, those who have joined in late, they may not have received. Today I have posted five articles, I mean the reference material in the Netris. Please go through that. Please log into your Netris and try to get those things. So that is taken from the different textbook related to pi, Mincode, and etc. So now the randomized method, the polynomial time, we need a polynomial time algorithm. It must answer the number is prime or the number is not a prime number or a composite number. If answer is prime, then we come to this question, because this is a randomized algorithm that when a number is told to be prime, what is the probability that the number is not prime? That means your algorithm is not 100% telling you the truth. There is an error associated. So it may be your algorithm is reporting a prime number to be a composite number, and a designer what they try to do, a designer try to reduce that, I mean, try to increase the truth value or reduce the false value. So depending on that, it says if a number of trials you will run, a particular prime number is given, run it for 10 times, and you are finding that probability is 0.9. So we are happy with that. Even if a prime number that is being reported by a composite number once in a 10 trial. This is the whole idea how this moves. And if you look into the very simple example, each odd prime p is divisible by 2 to the power p minus 1. These are typically primality testing. is used in the traditional primality testing algorithm by Robin and Miller. So this is just we included that the simple primality testing is 2 to the power n mod n plus 1. This is being used to test, but this algorithm has a higher complexity in comparison to randomized algorithm. That's why we have discussed. So then if we'll coming to the Format's theorem, which is quite popular. We are going for a pseudo random number n and we try to test it if n is not prime and a to the power. So this is with a base say if n is not prime and a to the power n mod n equal to 1, then this is the way we can test, and these are the example how we test the to the power 340 mod 341 that is equal to 56, which is not equal to 1. So we report the number to be non-prime. So that means this is a example how to test the conventional primality testing. Now the randomized primality testing algorithm, what I try to do, this congruent modulo generator which we sometimes generate the prime number can be used to test the prime number. So this is the first randomized algorithm. So are you finding any line where we are applying these things? So are you finding any line where we are introducing any random number calls? You see the first line, because of this only this is a probabilistic algorithm or randomly algorithm. We try to select A, so which will equal probable in between the interval to 2 to the n minus 1. And taking that we try to test whether it is a prime or not, or indirectly we are testing that is a factor or not. So that is one of the approach through which you can do it, that the algorithm is prime or not. If you look into this is our algorithm for which we are interested. Monte Carlo algorithm, I think you remember when we are going to say a Monte Carlo algorithm, whenever it produces the answer is true. The algorithm primality testing is accepts a number n and k is the number of trials. Instead of testing once, as we have discussed in the previous slide, we try to test it for a finite number of trials. That number of trials is k. In the subsequent slide, I'll be explaining why that particular k is to be decided through the experiment. Okay, so here this particular R number is generated from 1 to n minus 1. You may argue why not from 1 to root n. Okay, we can modify the algorithm to do that. So the uniform we write because we take the help of the uniform distribution, or sometimes translating this algorithm using MATLAB and others is easy because the inbuilt function random generator which is available with those compile interpreter or compilers are based on the uniform distribution. So we try to find out the remainder of when we are selecting a number. So this is, please make it correct, or I may make a change here. Okay, this is small r. So this is mod n comma r. So now you look into that. I told you about the data structure which will help you for 120 bit 8-bit numbers. So you told that you might be looking for the addition, subtraction. Now you may define a new operation mode so that it will be suitable for prime number testing. So if the question is that, can you suggest a data structure? Can you suggest a data structure which will support a 256-bit prime number testing? So this is the one operation. If you are finding any other operation which is to be defined here, will be a function belongs if you define a new class of integer or a new class of number that can be represented using 256 bit. So now the step number, if the remainder is then go to the step number 12, that is n is composite. Otherwise you increment because you start with one trial and you reported that, because here what we are assuming, that will supply a number which is to be primed. So this is again If I is less than k, that means we have not reached with maximum number of trials. So it sends the control to line number 5. Again, we generate a random number in between 1 to n minus 1. We did the computation to find out the remainder. If remainder is equal to 0, then we go to the 12. Otherwise, again, we'll enter into the third trial. And this particular loop ends in one condition when maximum number of trials are reached, or once the maximum number of trials are reached, we report the number to be prime. But when we look into the how many times you look into prime, in a prime number is look into prime, or vice versa, you supply a composite number, it reports you the prime. This is subjected to the simulation. Okay, this is a very simple example. We start with n equal to 52 and we try to test it, and maybe I am testing number of trials equal to I equal to 1 to 100, and we are generating a random number. This randi is a random integer uh, with MATLAB, which returns and store it to the fact. Then mode operation is well defined, so we write n comma fact. So if the remainder not equal to 0, we go for one more trials, k equal to k plus 1, and finally we are calculating the probability, that is of k by I, the number of times we are finding and number of the success what you are finding. So here we try to plot both the probabilities so that we are able to say if it is reported to be prime, then so what he tried to say, if I am going for the number is, suppose the number is assumed to be prime, and you will be finding for large number of trials, it is reporting this 0.92 times. That means a prime number is reported as a prime number by the randomized algorithm with maximum with a probability 0.92. What is the idea? If I'll use a deterministic algorithm, complexity will be too high. And and if I am going to do that with when 10, 15 or 20 prime number is required, the time complexity will be large. So because I say the prime number or a number to be tested is usually a problem which is comes under NP. And if you remember the article which I have posted, that is the innovation, or that is the research contribution from IIT Kanpur, they first prove primes are in P. That means we can produce a prime number, or we can verify a prime number in polynomial time. But here the idea is that the prime number cannot be verified in polynomial time when it is large. That means if I'll go for a large prime number, this is step number 1 to square root of root n will be large. So we want to do it with a much faster rate. So we try to take the help of a randomized algorithm. Even if I run 10 times, 20 times or 30 times, it is much faster in comparison to if I try to do it with a conventional prime multi-testing algorithm or by Fermat's theorem. So this simulation result will vary. You see, the one point is that the maximum value true value is 1. So we always happy if something is come between 9 and 1. We can say a prime number is being reported as a prime. But this simulation is not constant, because if you repeat it again and again, you'll be finding the different values. Okay, so this is a randomized primality testing algorithm, and you can do the other type of simulation to check the nature of the success ratio of your algorithm. But my observation is that when we try it, we always get is more than 90% time the algorithm is telling truth. And if you remember the complexity classes, we have a classes which greater than half, greater than 3 by 4. So you can rate the complexity classes because more than 90% time it says the prime number to be prime. Okay, now we'll come to the second problem, that is majority element. The majority element problem, as it illustrates, you look into the given array of numbers and this appears 4 times. What is the size of the array? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 3 is appearing once, twice, thrice, 4 times. Is it a majority element? Answer is no. So we'll come to the definition of the majority element. You are given an array A that is consisting of an element. You need to find out and return the number which appears more than n by 2 times. So element is said to be the majority element when the half of the array contains that, or more than the half of times it contains the element. So very interesting. This problem is sometimes solved using various technique. You see, without looking into the details, you see, if I'm looking into that, I'll examine each and every element. I can develop a brute force algorithm. So that will be order of n square. And if I am using a sorting techniques, I'll sort. So all the equal numbers will be placed at one place. So I can use a sorting algorithm to do that, and a better sorting algorithm with a complexity and log n. So we are silent about how the hashing can be used. Of course, when I'll be discussing the hashing, this problem will be again a assignment in your course. I have static hashing, dynamic hashing, extendable hashing, all will be covered. So for hashing, it will be order of n. Manipulation, it will be order of n. So this is a majority vote algorithm by Boyer-Moore, which popularly uses develops the string matching algorithm, that will be order n algorithm. So this is the history of the problem, how it is being listed, but nowhere we have listed where the randomized algorithm comes. Okay, let me go back to the position of the randomized algorithm, and this is the experiment conducted by some author. They try to measure the running time in terms of a time unit or in a millisecond. So that's where the last column is in terms of the time. So it starts with hash table BST. That means your binary search tree, randomization, bit vote, Boyer-Moore, full sorting. Typically, otherwise we call it as a sorting, partial sorting and partition sorting, something like the heap. We try to push few element, other elements I am not pushing, and divide and conquer. Look into the last line. Sometimes if you understood a divide and conquer paradigm, then you can say we can develop a deterministic polynomial time divide and conquer algorithm. For that, yes, I told you one problem which is the NP complete problem but comes under divide and conquer, that is your convex solve. Similarly, this is the one of the problem other than the selection problem where we have an algorithm in other paradigm, that is in divide and conquer. That means what we try to do, if there is a given array, we divide them into two equal halves. Then we check for the majority element in first half, majority element in second half. Okay, now if you look into that, a majority element occurrence is more than n by 2. But when I'm dividing the array, if I'm extremely lucky, then one half will contain all elements are equal. So if you look into a typical divide and conquer algorithm, I'm not going to discuss in details about divide and conquer algorithm for a majority element, but this is just to give an idea that when a good algorithm is there, divide and conquer algorithms are typically targeting for the log n. They are good in complexity. Then we are supposed to study a randomized algorithm whose complexity is better than this order of n log n. Okay, so how we are going to find it? It says, say constant of this problem is that you can only use the equality operation. You cannot use the greater than and the less than operation within the algorithm. So simple, it starts the array. A is split into two sub-array, that is A1 and A2. Of the half the size, we choose the majority element A1 and A2. After that, we do a linear time equality operation to decide whether it is possible to find a majority element. That means we have a small problem. The small problem can be solved in linear time. That means you can go for 2 element or 3 element. You can do it in the linear time. That is the reason we see the problem divided into two sub problem. So complexity of the original problem is Tn. So complexity of the sub problem is Tn by 2. when I'm dividing the array, there is always two sub problems. Then this is the time taken to find out the small element, because here we only need to report that how many, I mean whether the array has got a majority element or not. So we have a divide and conquer algorithm for the same problem with a complexity n log n. Okay, now we'll go back to the development of a randomized algorithm. Here just I try to put example. If you look into this array 3913533, so the output is 3. Okay, and that means the element appears once, twice, 3 or 4 times. So okay, similarly if you look into this array, this appears 5 times, this appear 10 is only 2. So number of occurrence, but the 8 can be called as a majority element. So now there are two questions. When we talk about the majority element, the first is that is an element majority element if it appears exactly n by 2 times? Answer is no. The majority element must more than n by 2 times. Must n by more than 2 times. And second, what should I return if there is a no majority element? In that case, you return -1. This is concerned with the development of the algorithm. That means what will be the return value so that my algorithm will terminate. If you do not include, or your given array is not going to include the negative numbers or -1, then you can use -1 as a number to indicate that there is no majority element, or you need to do certain assumption, maybe a very large negative number, maybe a very large positive number, depending on what type of input you are going to allow to the for the majority checking. So now the question is that how would you decide whether an array has a majority element using a deterministic algorithm and what is its complexity? So we are looking for a polynomial bound algorithm. The algorithm framework is a randomized algorithm which is going to test that whether a particular array contains a majority element or not. So this concept starts by choosing an element at a random and testing to see if it is a majority element. We get the probabilistic algorithm. Very simple. Given the array 10 element, pick up an element at a random and test that element. Okay, so this starts with a very interesting element. Suppose there is a majority element. You are selecting it. You are selecting it. And suppose you are selecting an element which is not a majority element. So that probability will be there. Let us assume that. Let us assume that an array has got exactly half of the elements are equal and you are picking up one element. So it is going to affect the half of the set. So that means a particular element will be reduced. Now we'll look into the algorithm. This algorithm has the two part. In the first algorithm, what we try to do, we are using a counter, and that particular counter is helps us to repeat the process depending on the inference. So look into the counter is set to be 0. K is the maximum number of trials. So the counter or the domain of the loop from the number of trials start at step number 4 and that ends at step number 9. Okay, this is the domain of the loop for K trials. Now we are taking the help of another routine which is called majority, and that we are calling by passing the array with n element, and now we are using two value R and E. So this R and E are used to indicate the majority element. I mean, R is the condition and E is the element. So the particular element which is to be the majority element. So we need four variable because A is the array with an element R and E. So what you infer if you call the majority element routine, if R value is true, R value is true, and the counter that number of times you have tried will be incremented by 1. If counter value is greater than 0, go to line number 10. If counter value is greater than 0, then we print. That means we have look into the, if counter value is greater than 0, then any positive number. So we are going to print the majority element is, else we print the this is no majority element or a composite number. So if you look into this majority algorithm, what it try to do, it starts with a number A. So array of an element, let us assume that there is a majority element. There is a majority element. So first we initialize r equal to false, and then you will select a random number in between 1 to n. We need to test that. We need to test that particular, because my array contain an element, I have to select a element which is with equal probability. That's why I have taken a help of a uniform distribution. I return a index value starting from 1 to n, then I'll pick up that element. Okay, when I'm picking up that element, I want to test it. You see, this number which is produced again and again is not in control. It will be coming from the generator. When I have n element, if I am trying it for n times, if there are n element, even I am trying it for n times, it may hit to a single element twice or 3 times. Okay, so that will not be ignored because I don't have any control about this uniform distribution. If all will produce unique number, then definitely you are going to check all the elements, that is from A1 to AN. So that's to say, if AI equal to choice randomly you are selecting, and you are again trying to test from the first element. You select the element in the random and try to test whether it is matches with first element. Then count will be count plus 1, one match found. Then this loop will continue for n element. Okay, if count is greater than n by 2, then the number is this array is a majority element. So your R is set to be true, and the particular element which is going to be repeated more than 50% time will be stored into the variable E. So this is the majority element output. One is that it will return the R value true, or it will this R value false will be never reached, and if R is set to be true, then E equal to the A choice, that is the particular element. If you look into the analysis, please look into very carefully. It is a very simple trick. If an algorithm majority makes R equal to true, if an algorithm makes R equal to true, then it means that the array has a majority element. So R is true means the array has a majority element. This is the conclusion of the algorithm. And the answer is correct if the algorithm makes R equal to correct if the algorithm makes R is equal to false. We are not sure whether the array has got a majority element or not. Okay, so we might have picked up a wrong element for checking the presence of majority element in the array. What it tried to say, that means when I am picking up an element in choice value, the choice value points to an element which is a minor element. I am randomly generating a number, and half of the array the numbers are repeated, let us say more than half of the array. So there is a greater probability that my choice function will select the element which is repeated. Suppose my choice function returns the index where the element is not the majority element, then what will be the inference? We might have picked up a wrong element for the checking the presence of majority element in the array. Okay, once you have picked up an element which is not reported more than 50% of time, then you come to the third argument. If there is a majority element picking up, a majority element is less than 0.5. If there is a majority element and picking of a minority element is 0.5. This is the argument. Suppose the array contains majority element. So when a array contains majority element, and if I'll pick up and ask whether I have collect majority element or minority element, if there are equal number, probability is 0.5. If when there will be a majority element, definitely minority element is less than 50%. Suppose 10 element, one majority element is reported 7 times. So 3 times is the minority element. Then if you look into that array and you try to find out the probability of selecting a majority element, out of 10 elements, 7 elements are there. So selecting a majority element will be 0.7 and selecting a minority element will be 0.3. Clear? This line says if a array contains majority element, that means it appears more than 5 times or 50% time, then probability of selecting minority element will be less than 0.5. Okay. Again, I repeat, array of 10 element, 7 are the majority element, 3 are the minority element or composite number. So picking up those minority element, picking up those minority element will be 0.3, picking up the majority element will be 0.7. So this is the main argument that actually sets the algorithm when we are using this choice function as to indicate that number which you have selected. Okay, if we use majority 10 times, right? Because my first guess I got a inference, my second guess I got a inference. I want to test that what will be the on average the algorithm reports. So if you use the majority 10 times, then probability of missing the majority element, if there is a majority element, probability of missing a majority element will be less. Because why? Indirectly look into what is the probability that there is a minority element, it will be less than 0.5. So look into this word. This will be less than, this part is important. We have a minority element whose probability is less than 0.5, and if I am going to conduct this experiment 5 times or 10 times, what will be the probability that the majority element is less? If there is a majority element, so this is going to reduce. Okay, this is going to reduce. What it indicates, this indirectly increases that my algorithm in general speaks truth. The output of the algorithm is accurate. If you look into that, so you will have a 999 like that, 99903. Your substrat is from 1. So the complexity of algorithm as you look into the structure will be nk, because k is the maximum number of trials you try to perform. The trials to the perform in the main program, it repeats for the k. Here you try to do it for n element, here you try to do it for k element. So complexity will be order of nk, where k is the number of times the algorithm majority is invoked or when you execute the algorithm. So this is the idea for analyzing. And if you remember, if you understood these last two, I mean the line number, the point number 3 and point number 4, we can go back to discuss the chord set. It based on that we try to reduce the probability that it is going to, I mean that probability that the minority element reported will be less, majority number of reported element will be high on a array subjected to condition on a array where we have majority element. Okay, when we have a majority element. So this is the key of the randomized algorithm, and we have another motivation that the complexity is polynomial is nk. So in addition to that, if you look into the different solution to majority element, because from the beginning of this course I talk about the selection problem. That selection problem has got many algorithm. I'll be coming back to again to discuss that. Similarly, this is one of the problem which can be also studied across the different paradigm and modifying or by adopting a new data structure like your sort, if you are going for an appropriate hash table. So the 5%, so sometimes it is asked, suggest the different solution to majority problem. Okay, suggest a different solution. So mostly people suggest a divide and conquer paradigm. As we have discussed, it will be n log n. So with a good guess you can say, we'll be looking for a algorithm which has got a better complexity in comparison to divide and conquer algorithm for a large n. This would be the assumption. For a large n, it will be more. Okay, so this is all about the examples
Sir,
of yes. Yes, anybody is
sir,
asking
aren't
anything?
the numbers? Yes, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
yes,
aren't the numbers 0.5 means selecting a minority element is less than 0.3? Isn't it specific to a in particular instance, or we are
yes,
assuming
yes,
that?
yes, yes, yes. It is to a particular instance. It is in general. This is for when it is 0.5. Suppose you take 8 to 9 element, this will be more different. It is for a particular instance. Yes, it is for a particular instance.
And sir, what do you mean by a wrong element in an array?
Which one? That means I am
Sir,
looking
in
for
the
a I am looking for a majority element. I am looking for a majority element, but when I am picking up, my interest is to check the majority element. So if I hit to the minority element, that is a wrong element. I am looking for a
okay,
majority element. Okay. The wrong element means if I hit to the majority element. You see, we try to test the truthness of the algorithm. Once it will be high, it will be recommended. If it will be low, it will not be recommended. So otherwise you can say somebody develops a randomized algorithm. Two people develop two randomized algorithm. We can test it. We can test it which will be recommended. Okay, and suppose you trial 100 trials, 200 trials, 300 trials, you can test it. Okay, because the throughput matters. Remember it. Randomize random uh, randomized algorithms are used in practice. I told from the beginning in the Google backend, we have many randomized algorithms. We are concerned with the throughputs. Even if my success ratio is zero 0.8, still I recommend for the measure randomized algorithm because it is going to meet the requirement of 80% people. If I'll use a deterministic algorithm, then I may be able to serve only 20-30%. If I'm using randomized algorithm, I'm serving 80%. So concerning the throughput, randomized algorithms are practically used. Again, I repeat, many algorithms on the back end of the Google was randomized algorithm. And now, of course, they try to replace that it with a more intelligent algorithm or on fly, which which collects the user's experience, and we are going to design an adaptive algorithm. Okay, let us come to the Las Vegas algorithm. As we say, here also success ratio defines these algorithms never produce an incorrect result. So guaranteed result to be produced. But what is the quality? It may not be the optimal one. Now, my first question is that if I ask you to write down a Las Vegas algorithm for 01 knapsack problem, I want to write down a Monte Carlo algorithm for 01 knapsack problem. Are you in a position to write? That is the one question. So first one says you are finding solution. Here it says the randomized algorithm which never produces incorrect result. Okay, so if I am writing a typical 01 knapsack problem, listen very carefully. I start from visiting from element 1 to n. I toss a coin. I told number of times I'll pick up the first element or not is decided by the toss. If head comes, I'll select first item. Then I move to the second item. Then I move to third item. Then I move to fourth item. You see, I'm not checking with the capacity of the knapsack, right? For all 5 elements, I am only flipping a coin and deciding whether to take or not. At the end, I'm checking the item which I have taken is fit into the knapsack or not. If I am lucky, if it fits into the knapsack, I'll calculate the profit and report my profit will be this. This is which type of algorithm? It is Monte Carlo or Las Vegas? Yes. Or can you Monte Carlo? Why? It may so happen that, please listen, it may so happen that the item which I have selected will not fit into the knapsack. Can this be fit into any of the algorithm, or you want to do the modification? Now come to the modification. Very simple. I flipped a coin. I find out head is there. I am checking the knapsack capacity. Is it adequate to select the first item? If yes, I put there. Then I go to the second item. I found that second item is not selected. Happy. Third item is selected but not able to accommodate to the knapsack, so I didn't take that one. Then I move to the fourth item. Fourth item again says head, and I am finding fourth item can be put into the knapsack, so I have selected. Similarly, I move to fifth item. Again it says head. Again I am finding knapsack capacity is adequate. I have selected fifth item. Okay, so I am going to find out a solution, right? So what is that algorithm? Previous one is Monte Carlo or this one is Monte Carlo? Yes, please. If you are listening, then you can answer. Every time I select the item, I try to check whether it can be fit into the knapsack. And I have a linear time algorithm which visits all the items. And at end, I have selected few items. Okay. So is it a Monte Carlo algorithm? Please go back to the definition. What is a Monte Carlo algorithm?
Sir, it is Monte Carlo.
It is Monte Carlo because whenever it produces a solution, it is correct, right?
And the execution time is also linear.
Obviously, all will be the linear. And now come to the first one. Is it fits into anything? Where I am picking up randomly all the items one by one. At the end, I am checking. Is it fits into any of this category, randomized algorithm? Can I call that as a non-deterministic algorithm? Can I call it as a non-deterministic algorithm? Because I selected 0, 1, 1, 0, 1 and finally found that it is not accommodated into the knapsack. That means it runs in polynomial time but does not produce a solution. But if you run it 10 times, maybe you will be finding 5 times you are finding solution. So that is a typical example of again a non-deterministic algorithm. Complexity is polynomial. Solution is not guaranteed, but you may found a solution. But when you will be finding the solution, you do not know. Right? But if you compare into a Monte Carlo algorithm is fixed, time is linear, definitely you are finding a solution. But the solution may not be optimal. The solution may not be optimal. Okay, so if you run it for second times, third times, you may find that the profit will increase. Okay, now come to the Las Vegas. Las Vegas algorithms are randomized algorithm which never produces incorrect result. Never produces incorrect result. Okay, so we are not going to do as I have discussed in the first example. Randomly I am selecting and only I am testing at the end. Now come to the Las Vegas algorithm. Can I have a algorithm for minimum spanning tree? Can I have a Las Vegas algorithm for constructing a minimum spanning tree? Yes. Can I have an algorithm to construct a minimum spanning tree? Las Vegas algorithm.
So we can take the edges randomly and then check if they are connected to the current edge or not.
But it says it never produces incorrect result. So either at the end a linear time algorithm, you are doing it for n-1 times, and do you want to do certain modification to that or condition to that, or you can say I have certain assumption that it will be a Las Vegas algorithm. But Monte Carlo is easy for spanning tree. Okay, now come to the minimum spanning tree. I want a Monte Carlo algorithm. Can I have it?
So
Yes.
given that the answer can be inaccurate, we can just randomly select an edge given that
Fine.
it has.
Oh, no, my question is, if I ask, write down a Monte Carlo algorithm to find a minimum spanning tree. Minimum, I told that key your answer may not be optimal. but you are finding a spanning tree whose cost is something. So in Monte Carlo algorithm, you have to pick up a edge. What you did in case of Prim and Kruskal, you take the help of a heap. So here you are not going to take the help of a heap. Okay, you are selecting a edge at a random. Okay, first trial you are free. When second trial you are selecting, what you try to do? You are selecting edge. And only you are checking whether it is not going to form a cycle. If not, you will add that. It may be connected, it may not be connected. So you have two flavors like your Prim and Kruskal, which can be easily analogous to the randomized algorithm. You tell me Prim or Kruskal?
Kruskal.
Kruskal. Okay. So just think up that you are writing a Monte Carlo algorithm for finding spanning tree. The minimum word I'll not use because I'm not going to find a optimal solution. Now, so now come to the Las Vegas algorithm because we have few minutes to finish. So random choices are made within the algorithm are used to establish an expected running time for the algorithm that is essentially independent of the input. Yes, whatever the inputs are supplied and the way we try to select the solution is free from the input. This is the basic characteristic of a randomized algorithm that we are actually selected by the index, not by the value of the item selected. So now this is a very simple application. We number of times we ask the same question in divide and conquer algorithm, how to find out the repeated element, how to find out a repeated element in a linear array. Okay, how to find out the repeated element in a linear array. So assumption that array is linear. So consider a array A with n numbers and that has n by 2 distinct element and n by 2 copies of another element. Okay, so here we identify thus look into the assumption, then we'll generalize n by 2 distinct element and other half of the element will be the repetition of an element. We try to simplify. Any deterministic algorithm for solving this problem will at least need n plus 2 steps because we assume that. So once we'll check for n plus 2 it is correct. And once we find out n plus 2, we need one more criteria to stop the process. Okay, so we can test it. Now, so identifying a repeat element, a simple and elegant randomized Las Vegas algorithm that takes log n time. What we try to do, we want a improvement from order n to log n. This algorithm returns array index of one of the copies of the repeated element. That means finally it will return index of a element which says this particular element is repeated in the array, right? So we have a array a with n element and finally the randomized algorithm is going to return. So you see we try to visit all the element. I mean the number of elements in the array. So it will be a linear time algorithm as we try to visit it. So now we are selecting index at a random and we try to control that index so that it will be within the array. I try to generate a random number. Here you can write uniform mod n plus 1. When I say mod n plus 1, it falls within the range of the array. Then I generate a number j equal to random mod n plus 1. So we are selecting two elements I and j. So I and j are the random numbers within the range of 1 to n. Agreed? That means it must be an element. If I equal to j, that means when you try to generate an index, highly unlikely that I will be equal to j. So if I will be equal to j, then you are looking into the same element, but we need to check for I is not equal to j. Because suddenly I'll pick up two element, I try to check whether they are equal or not. Because 50% of the time, a single element is repeated. Anyway, if ai equal to aj, because there is a high probability you pick up a element from the n by 2 distinct element and compare with the repeat element and the answer is true. then return I. So we are returning that this majority element is available at the location AI. Okay, so if you do it once, twice, thrice, whenever you find this condition, you see why it is Las Vegas. This condition will be only satisfied when you are guessing a element from a n by 2 element and guessing another element in the repeat set. Suddenly, suppose you return a element from a repeated set, then those two elements will be identical, AI equal to AJ. That will be AI equal to AJ. So this we apply first precondition, I not equal to J. I not equal to J. Then we try to look into AI and AJ. Okay, so then it returns I. So similarly here also the probability, the algorithm success ratio will be repeated when you are looking into that. Now look into this. So the success of the algorithm we are going to find out in terms of the probability. So the first, an iteration of a while loop will be successful in identifying a repeat number if I is any one of those n by 2 array indices corresponding to the repeat element. Okay, it says n by 2 is element is repeated. So if I hits to that and j is one of the element in the same indices of n by 2 other than the I, then that means I am checking for I not equal to j. So we'll get the success. The probability that the algorithm quits and given iteration in the while loop. So what we try to do, what is the probability that you are finding the same index? You are finding the same index. Okay, you have n by 2 element which is unique. Rest n by 2 element is a repetition of a single element from the first set. So that has to be discussed. And what I am trying to use my board, I say I could not correct it as I was getting a mirror image, so that I could have shown you how easy it is to find it out. But my suggestion is you read it once so that you can guess it. So you see n into n minus 1 divided by n square. This is n, but treat the n by 2 as n into n minus 1 divided by n square. So this is the time what we try to do in a given iteration. The while loop is with this is the probability at which this is going to hit. Okay, first element, second element, third element for an element. Okay, so which is equal to 1 by 5 for all n greater than 10. That means if you select a particular value n equal to 10 or an array of 10 element, then array of 10 element, this is going to be the probability. Similarly, the remaining part is you are subtracting from 1 minus 1 by 5, which is comes to be 4 by 5. It's the probability that the element does not quit in a given iteration is this. If success is 1.5, you are simply subtracting from the 1. Therefore, the probability that the algorithm does not quit in 10 iteration, that means if you fall into the half of the array which not meets the condition, will be less than this. That's why I say that was the previous example was very simple how we are finding the probability. So there is a probability of failure. This is the probability of success. So an algorithm will terminate in 10 iteration or less with a probability this. And as I say, the algorithm terminates if we get a correct solution. So a randomized algorithm with a success is 0.8926. You see, all these algorithms can be simulated. All these algorithms have been simulated. Start with a 10 element, very simple algorithm. Use the rand function to write it. Use the rand function. This already you have done it. And when I have asked about finding the area under curve, we are guessing 2 points x comma y. Similarly, we are guessing the 2 points that is I and j, and we go for necessary checking, and we go for number of trials. Start with a static array as the input to your program and do it so that you'll be able to compute this value. We'll able to compute this value. Actually, we ask the people to compute this value. Once you run it, you'll be finding something. Run it twice, run it thrice. That's why this whole program will be enclosed within a for loop, maybe 10 or a 15 times, and note down this value. Note down this value, this value. And whenever you will find, irrespective of the trials, either first two significant digit is getting repeated. I mean 8, 9 is repeated. Only there is a change into this next two digit. So we can select that many number of iteration for my particular algorithm. I can say, okay, you trial maximum up to this, but minimum should be 20 iteration. After 20 iteration, I am finding, always I am finding 89, and these two digits are varying. So that's why a randomized algorithm is subjected to implementation, and the observation of the success is the key. When recommending a randomized algorithm, you are also recommending the number of trials to be performed. That is must. You should mention the number of trials to be performed. Okay. So now proving the runtime of the algorithm, the proving in the runtime of algorithm, the same as looking into this equation. So now the probability that the randomized algorithm does not terminate in 100 iteration, it's the same substitution of this formula 4 by 5 into that. So we are going to write it again 4 by 5 into this. So that is almost certainly the algorithm will quit in the 100 iteration or less. So if n is equal to 2 to the power 10 minus 6, this is example, and any deterministic algorithm has to spend at least 1 million time steps as offered to the 100 iteration. This is a line when you try to compare a deterministic algorithm, because if you look into the previous slide, and we have find out a deterministic algorithm requires this number of steps, and the same idea of the n value is to be used. So it says there is a 1 million time of steps as opposed to the 100 iteration. So 100 iteration with a probability 0.89 or 0.85 is good than performing this million number of steps using a deterministic algorithm. So this is the reason why we prefer randomized algorithm. So in general, the probability that the algorithm does not quite in the first C alpha log n, C is a constant to be fixed iteration is, so we are, why we are going to use log n, because when I'm selecting, I don't know the size of the array. I mean, how many times the repeat, how the elements will be distributed. So we are using that C alpha log n, and for a problem, this is a recommendation is to be fixed so that we can have success probability higher and failure probability will be less. Okay, so looking into this, if you subtract this thing 4 by 4, so we can find out there will be a less than n to the power alpha if we pick up C. This is experiment finding. This is experiment finding. We need to verify it. If we'll try with a different C value, one simulation will show you that if you select a range in between 1 to log 5 by 4, it will be ideal. So this is a recommendation for this problem, but not necessarily on the machine on the top of which you are working, because this depends on the random generator you are using, because you are taking the help of the random generator associated with a compiler. So this recommendation will vary. This recommendation will vary. Okay. So each iteration of the while loop takes order of 1 time, and the runtime of the algorithm is order of log n. Why it is order of log n? Can anybody answer why it is order of log n? How it is getting divided if we start with the array of an element? Are we dividing the array in this process? How log n comes?
So we are
Yes.
randomly selecting two numbers
Yes.
in each step. So
Right. Yes.
because of that.
No, how it covers the height, because you see typically in divide and conquer algorithm we say when we try to number there is a small problem definition, so that comes at the leaf node. So if I start with n numbers, I may be dividing them equally or unequally, it goes proportional to the height. But where is that division? You are
Sir,
selecting two
here we are
numbers.
The
selecting
division is in
second
there, but
number from
Yeah,
another n by 2 element.
okay. You are selecting from another n by 2 element.
sir,
Okay.
we can also say that the number of comparisons are more or less proportional to log n because we are taking two elements at a time.
Right. No, is there any control that the first element or the index which you have selected will not be repeated for second times?
No, sir.
There is every possibility that that will be repeated, but that will be repeated. Okay. But if you so what you can say, this is the best case or the worst case? While loop takes order of one time and the runtime of the algorithm takes order of log n. Anywhere the dividing concept comes, or how come you'll say it will come into the log n? This algorithm, I think log n picture. How many times you need to call it, this algorithm? Because it mentions it takes only order of one time. Look into that. While loop is free from n. Agreed?
Yes.
Agreed? While loop is free from n. There is no operation involves n. Now the question is that how many times I am going to call this algorithm? How many times we'll call this algorithm? Because if I'll use this, when the while loop will terminate, it may not terminate also. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it may not terminate. But when it will be terminate, what will be the probability? Or you are going to call it again and again so that you are covering almost all element. You want to call it, okay, you start with a array, right? Then you divide it, then you divide it. Okay. Is it so? You go on dividing the array. Let us start with 10 element. You divide them into 5. When you call to the 5, again you divide them into 3 to 2. And finally you are calling it for a single element. Is it so? How the log n will be explained? Because log n comes from an algorithm when we try to divide the algorithm, maybe to equal halves, maybe to unequal halves. So in a better case, I mean the ideal case, we say it is always divided into log n. Okay. Try to have a look into the, I think I have attached that material for your majority element. So I'll be discussing this one, which I have not discussed details like this. Analysis of a min code. Okay. What I can do, I'll try to put more details so that while referring to this will be the easy. And this is same as the probability what we did, the success ratio, and finally we are finding the success of the probability that is going to produce a result which is correct. So this thing I'll discuss in the next class, followed by uh, this clarification when we are talking of, all right, we are talking of this probability, how the log n is coming to the picture. Okay. And let me tell you from where these things are taken. If you look
Sir?
into the random, yes. Yes, please.
So I think we are choosing two elements. So
Right.
first time if we are choosing two elements, the probability that the repeating element is missed um, is
No, you
2
see
by
there,
n.
there are two independent events. Na? The first event does not remember the first event, second event, second random number selection has no information, that first element is called. You are selecting definitely two elements, but not necessarily the two are to be distinct. That is the step number 8 says if they are distinct, then only we'll compare AI equal to AJ. If suppose in a iteration I and J are equal, then we are not going to do anything. We'll repeat. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Because I and J may be repeat, and at the second event when you call the J has no information that what value I has produced. Okay. So this will be sometimes very interesting unless until you implement. Number of times I told you write down a code to see that the results will be amazing. Just like a randomized linear search, you pick up an element, compare with X. You pick up an element, compare with X. Do it 10 times, you'll be finding 8 times you able to search the element with a randomized algorithm. Okay, that is that sometimes is the probability or goes beyond that probability, how it works. Okay. Okay, oh, we'll discuss this thing. I mean, complete the discussion how we able to find out a login will be appear, but it is not observed from the algorithm which is placed here, finding the repeat element. Okay, and uh, as people are questioning about the course content, you see. So this is the content of your randomized algorithm. It's introduction, complexity classes, computing the pi value, numerical integration, primality testing, and majority element, min cot. Of course, the sequence is something different in the slide. Then algorithm for n-queen problem. Then this is a randomized selection algorithm that is selecting the kth largest. Then randomize the quicksort. Randomized quicksort and selection is a variant of the quicksort. So randomized quicksort is typically when we select the pivot element at a random, and I'll write down the recurrence relation and derive the complexity from the randomized quicksort, which is actually nothing but the average case complexity of a quicksort. Okay. So there are a bit of revision to the second slides. I'll be uploading the revised one. Okay. Okay. Thank you then.
Hello, sir.
Sir.